Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, which is a panel of alumni from the Master of Advanced Management program at the Yale School of Management. My name is Camino de Paz. I'm the Assistant Dean for Global Network Programs at the Yale School of Management. And it's my privilege today to be the moderator of this panel. Before we start, I really want to thank all the panelists for their time. They're very busy and they're also in different time zones as you are. So thank you for making time for us today. And I'm gonna be asking each of them to introduce themselves, and then we're gonna start right away with questions. For our attendees, I really appreciate your time as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And I would ask you to start putting your questions in the Q&A function of Zoom that you have on the bottom of your screen. So write your questions there, and I will stop asking my questions probably 15 or 20 minutes before the end of the hour. And so we will then take as many questions from the audience as possible. If you want your question to be asked to a particular panelist, can you also include who are you referring the question to in the Q&A to make sure that that person answers the question. If you don't care who answers, then I'll randomly assign the question to somebody. So I don't want to waste any time, so we're going to kick it off. If I may ask our panelists to introduce themselves, name, what school you did your MBA at, when did you graduated from your MBA, when did you started your MAM, and then what was your work experience prior to doing our program, and then post program, and also if you were involved in any groups or clubs or initiatives outside of the classroom, that would be a great introduction. So if I'm gonna just go with my screen. So Ana Victoria, you're first.
Thank you so much, Camino, for having us, and welcome everyone. My name is Ana Victoria Gil. I am from San Jose, Costa Rica, and that is where I did my MBA at INCAE Business School in Costa Rica. Prior to my MBA, I did recruiting for biotech, pharmaceutical, and medical device companies for 3 years. That was based out of California. And then I went back to Costa Rica, which is home for me, to get that MBA. And then I did, of course, my MAM at Yale, and I'm super excited to share that with you. I completed my MBA, sorry, I forgot you asked that, Camino, in 2020. So I basically did my MBA, and right after that, I did the MAM program. And am I missing anything? My current work experience, right? Okay, so right now I am working in New York as a manager of thought leadership for Teladoc Health.
Thank you, Ana Victoria. Prayush, can we go with you next?
Sure, Camino, thanks so much for having us. Hi, everyone. My name is Pratyush Kochar. I'm from New Delhi, India, and I graduated from HEC Paris in 2016, December. I did my MAM and graduated in 2017, a few months later. So I did my both programs concurrently. Prior to the MBA and the MAM, I worked for a luxury hotel chain in Delhi. My last role was as sales and marketing manager for a 300-room luxury property in Delhi. Post the MAM and my MBA, I'm working for a travel technology company by the name of Priceline. I'm a senior product manager for checkout and payments. And while I was at Yale, I was involved with a few initiatives as part of the ethics honor committee, and was also an active member of the consulting and technology club. So pleasure to be here and happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Victor, can we go next with you?
Hi everyone. I'm excited to be here. Yeah, so my name is Victor Agbanu. I'm from Ghana, but I currently reside in Canada. I did my MBA in Ghana at the University of Ghana Business School, completed in 2013, and then worked for some time before starting my MAM in 2017 and completed in 2018. I majored in finance. I currently, prior to the MAM, I've actually always worked in banking. So I was a corporate banking relationship manager. I came to, so after my MBA, I went back to banking and currently working with Scotia Bank in the province of Alberta as a business advisor. While in Yale, I was a student admissions reviewer, which was an exciting thing for me to do. Yeah, is that it?
Perfect. Thank you, Victor.
Hey, thank you.
And definitely not last but not least, Sophia, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you very much, Camino, for the invitation to be here. My name is Sofia Ribeiro. I'm originally from Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm also based in Lisbon, Portugal nowadays. I started my MBA at IE Business School in Madrid, Spain on January 2019. And then I started my MAM in August 2019, and I graduated from both because they were combined last May 2020. Prior to the MAM, I was a medical, and I'm still am a medical doctor specialized in public health. I have worked in different countries, consulting for UN agencies and for non-profit organizations. Currently, I'm working since the beginning of the pandemic here in Lisbon as a contact tracer and also as an outbreak manager. And I'm also a consultant for the World Health Organization on non-communicable diseases. During the MAM, I did a lot of things. I was a student representative as an ambassador of the Global Network of Advanced Management. I was also a member of the honor committee, like Prayush, and I was an advisor for the Title IX working group. I taught I was a teaching assistant in several subjects, including the Global Network Week. That's how I met Ana Victoria, and I did a number of fellowships. So there's plenty to do at Yale School of Management.
Thank you so much to everyone. So I'm gonna kick it off with the first question. I'm gonna start with you, Ana Victoria. So how did you first learn about the MAM, and what did you choose to apply?
Yes, so that's sort of segueing into what Sophia was sharing earlier. Before actually applying for the MAM, my school was part of the Global Network Week, of course, and I decided to come do it at Yale, mostly because I was genuinely interested in the subject that was being covered that week, which was a lot based on human insights and cognition and how this intersects with business. And my background is in cognitive sciences. So for me, the idea of doing a program that would allow me to sort of merge both of those subjects was just, added so much value to my degree. And so after doing the Global Network Week, I was, in love with the business school, but also the professors and the subjects of these classes. And I instantly thought, well, you know what, I have to apply. And so I did. And that was basically the reason behind it. It was the Global Network Week.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to share how they came across the program and decided to apply?
I can go ahead. So I learned about the MAM just 3 months into my MBA on the International Women's Day. I don't know if that was a happy coincidence or not. And that time, what drew me to the school were mainly two things. Was the fact that I could do a lot of subjects on healthcare across the school, and that was something that was not as present in my business school. And since my background is in health, I would have the opportunity of connecting with professors and students that are specialized in that field. And also the motto of the school, educating leaders for business and society, really resonated with me, because in the long term, I really want to pursue a career in the public sector. So I thought that was the ideal place to explore it further with the whole community.
Thank you. Prayush, how would you define or describe the Ellison community?
That's a loaded question, but thanks for it nevertheless. I think it's in my view, in the time that I was there for about a year or so. It's a collaborative and very insightful community, which and I feel everyone, based on whatever your interests are, you are able to find a niche for yourself in the program or outside of the university, outside of the MBA school itself. I mean, there's so many touch points that you can have with other students in other cohorts and classes. I think it really helps round your perspective at the end of the program. I wish I really had more time to spend there, but have very fond memories nevertheless.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Victor, this is for you. How do you juggle your MBA work studies? Well, I guess you apply later on. So you were working while you were applying. How do you juggle, work and then preparing for an application to Ellison, which we know we ask for a lot of things and it's time consuming and it's, you got deadlines to submit everything on time. How do you juggle that? And how do you prepare to submit the best possible application that clearly was successful? So you did a great job. How do you juggle all that?
Yeah, it was very challenging combining that. So it was an issue of just prioritizing what I had to do. So what I would do is, after work, I would spend some time just preparing my essays and researching as much as possible. But I think what helped me was that as soon as when I decided to apply, I started documenting all the things that I was doing at work and the impact those things were having on society and all of that. So sometimes when you're working, you think, you're just focused on your work and that's it, but it has an impact on the wider society. So for example, there was a loan application that I did for a company in Ghana that resulted in this company reviving its factory, expanding its factory. And I realized that after doing this loan, the company was able to employ more than 30 people. I thought, oh, this is something impactful, be able to increase employment and the impact they would have on their kids and their kids' school and all of that. So it gave me more perspective in my application I had and gave me a lot of things to say in my application. So for me, it was a plus that I was working at the time I applied, because then I had a lot of things to talk about in my application.
Thank you. Sophia, this question is for you. You did mention that a big draw to the program was the possibility of taking a lot of courses in healthcare. And I want you to talk a little bit about that, about choosing classes for your MAM, because most of the students up to the point that they arrive to the MAM, the curriculum has been pretty much fixed. So when you sign up for a program, what classes you're going to take. You might have some electives, but it's very unusual to have a program where basically you design that program. So how was that process for you? And then if I may, I'm seeing the questions coming in, so that might link to a question that somebody has posted already. It's like, how did you decide, I want to do the MAM at SOM rather than applying directly to the MBA at Ellison? What are the considerations between those two programs? And I know you know both programs because you attended classes with the MBAs here. So how do you prepare to select your classes here, having so much flexibility? And two, what are the difference or considerations in choosing the MAM or the MBA at SOM? Two questions in one.
Sure. So answering the first one, because I'd say it's easier. It was really important for me that I could take some classes that were focusing on health. And at the MAM, you can take basically almost any class that is offered by Yale University. And I took classes at the School of Public Health, for example, which is the most obvious option. I took a class that focused on HIV, malaria, and tuberculosis. But I also took a more different type of course that was independent studies, where I had a supervisor at the Yale School of Public Health, and I was helping with the marketing program of an app designed to do harm reduction in people that were using drugs. So those were very different, but they were very interesting experiences that I could do at the university. Also, while being a teaching assistant for the life sciences industry, while preparing the classes and while being in classes and correcting students' assignments. That was also very important for me to learn more and also to be able to discuss with the students and professors. Last but not least, as someone already mentioned, there were a lot of clubs focusing on healthcare and on life sciences. So that was also a very important component for me to learn more about health. Regarding the second question, why did I choose to do this? I integrated both, which is not something that many people do. I did the first 6 months in IE Business School Madrid, which I chose because of the reputation of the school and because it was close to home and because it was also a shorter program. So it was 12 months instead of 24, which is the duration of the Yale MBA. And I decided after the core that I really needed that business and society aspect, but also the healthcare aspect. And that was what drew me mostly to Yale, and this possibility of also doing another 4 to 5 months, but not another year of studies.
Thank you. Ana Victoria, I'm also going to combine two questions in one for you. So how did the MAM add value to your MBA? And then there's a question on the chat that says, aside from business knowledge, how did the program complete you as a person, as a whole person? In what perspective and in what way?
Yeah, absolutely. So I almost want to start that question talking a little bit about what Sophia answered in the last one, because I think I can add a little bit more to that. Again, going back, my background, my undergraduate studies are in cognitive sciences and neuroscience. So I had no clue what business was before taking an MBA. So in the difference between going straight for the MBA or straight for the MAM, I would have never chosen the MAM if I hadn't already done business. But that's because I really, really needed those business foundations. They were, I didn't have them, so I did my MBA first and then did the MAM precisely for that specialization. So that is really the way that it added value to me. I had the ability to tailor that entire year to really what I wanted it to be. And it was interesting because you come in with an idea of, okay, I know what classes I want to take. Like, I know I want to take all of these human insights and customer insights and human behavior classes. And then there's so many options and you're like, wow, well, now there's a whole different side, which is it allows me to explore things I didn't even consider before coming in. So I took a bunch of classes on sustainability, non-market strategy, even like sustainable food systems, which was, across all of the Yale colleges, and it was a super interdisciplinary group. So I think it added a lot of value in that way. It not only allowed me to tailor it to, and specialize and find more information on what I already wanted, but it added a whole new perspective of what is possible. And in that way, it almost makes you more comfortable that either you're choosing right in what you're doing, right? And that you're graduating with a degree that you love, or you can pivot at that point in your life and decide to go a different route. And then the second question was a little bit more about what? I forgot.
It was, how the MAM added value to your MBA. And then on the chat, we have, how did the program complete you as a whole person? Yeah. How, what perspectives added to your personality or your you as a person, and in which way?
Sure. So I think a lot of the classes that are available depend a lot on there's this course called interpersonal dynamics, for example, or negotiations. These are a bunch of soft skills that you don't really get taught in business, at least not in this level and not with this depth. So I think it's a program that forces you a little bit out of your comfort zone to be more well-rounded, because in reality, business is, I don't know, not 50%, 70% the way that you relate to people. Businesses are made of people. And so I think it forces you to see and understand that there's an entire human transactional aspect to any business decision that you're making and to any group that you're working with. So I think it completed me in that way. There was also a very strong global perspective to the entire program. So, it having students from different countries being part of this program, and also having courses that were specifically designed to make you think, okay, how can certain things be perceived in one country versus in another? What are issues that we maybe forget in our own countries that are really there in others? And I think that as people that hopefully want to work for global corporations or be global leaders, the ability to be able to understand those things and have worked through problems with multidisciplinary and multinational groups is incredible. It adds a lot of value. And to me, again, it completed me more as a person even than I would say like in a business sense. Like that's what the program really did for me.
Thank you. Prayush, you completed the program a few years back, so you've already been part of our alumni network for a little while. So how is the Yale SOM alumni network and the broader Yale alumni network? Have you interacted with other alumni? How, you know, what services do they get? How do you feel being part of that community?
I think it's a very close-knit community because there are a lot of. I'm on the East Coast, by the way, about an hour away from New York, in between New York and New Haven, actually, in a city called Norwalk. But we've got the Connecticut Alumni Chapter as well as the New York chapter, and they on a timely basis through the year. Of course, the pandemic disrupted all several plans, but there were several events that you have the opportunity to sort of be a part of and get to know or broaden your network in the Yale alumni network per se. But the MAM network in itself is a very closely knit community, and even after we've sort of graduated, a lot of us who, regardless of where we're located, we're in touch with one another. We celebrate each other's successes, and of course, whenever you want to sound some advice and lean on someone. I have never had a problem or hesitating reaching out to any one of my colleagues and batchmates. So I think that's definitely a strong point that I take back after graduating from Yale. My broader interactions with alumni outside of the MAM network has also been very positive. In fact, when I was in the midst of looking for a job, I did reach out to several alumni just to sort of figure out what their journeys were, and I really did find positive feedback and receptiveness, right? I mean, I think you're reaching out to folks that you've never met in the past, but I just by virtue of being associated with the school, there's a strong sense of wanting to help one another, and I think that's also you could say as part of the group that's culminated here today. I mean, this is really the love for the school as well as the program that we're here, right? And wanting to give back. So I think it's benefited me a great deal, just not personally as well, not just personally, but also from a professional standpoint.
Thank you. Victor, while you were in your MAM, did you have interaction with the Career Development Office?
Oh yes, it was a very supportive relationship we had. The CDO always helped for me. I think I would say I benefited a lot from the CDO because Christine, who was our partner for the MAM, would always give me interview practice. I did that about 3 times in a week. How to do practice interview questions, how to prepare for behaviorals, which was a major problem for me before coming to Yale, because then before that I wasn't really comfortable with behavioral questions. So I did that a lot. She also sent a lot of jobs to me, jobs that she thought that I would fit my profile. She would also just chat on my career aspirations, get me to think about other areas, because I was so focused on banking. I wasn't looking at other industries. Although I didn't end up in other industries, it gave me insight into those ones and to make me make an informed decision. I've continued that relationship even after completing the program. So I would even now I would get in touch with Christine tell you where I am now in terms of work and any way I can help MAM students. Some of them called me and I would have conversations on how to navigate recruiting and all of that. So it's been a very positive relationship with the CDO for me.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
could I just add to what Victor just said? I think outside of the CDO as well, the school gives a lot of opportunities for students to connect with industry experts, and that's not just through coffee chats that are organized on campus, but also there are job treks that take you to different parts of the country as well. So depending on where your interests lie, I remember I had gone to California as part of one of the job treks, and we did cover several large multinational technology companies as well as other industries. And of course, it's not necessary for you to participate in each of those, but you can really focus on organizations that you want to work for. And some of these initiatives do come in handy for you to take benefit from. Sorry about that, Camila. I just wanted to mention.
No, please. That's what we're here from. No.
One more thing to that
Go
too.
ahead, Anna.
Just because this was something that was incredibly useful to me in particular, from having a CDO available to us. It was not just in the preparation for interviews, but for many of us coming from different, countries, sometimes when you get a job offer, especially if it's a US company, you have no idea what a 401k is, how restricted stock units work in this country, all of these things that, part of the benefits package and whatnot. And I remember for me, when I got my job offer, I went back to Christine and I was like, Christine, help me understand this. Am I getting a good deal here? Where can I push more? Where should I ask for less? Should I even negotiate my job offer? Which the answer is always yes. You need to negotiate up, always try at the very least. But she shows you how to do it with tact and where she thinks you can push a little bit more and really break that, that offer down for you, which I think is incredibly helpful.
Thank you so much. Sophia, how is it like to live in New Haven?
It was really nice. It really depends on what you make of it. I think one of the things that I really liked was the fact that you could walk everywhere, so you didn't need to rely on any kind of transport. You could just during the day in between classes, even if you were going to another school, there you could walk or you could take the shuttles, and they are free of charge, and they are also free of charge during the night. So that was really good. The fact that you had so many options to eat and to spend your time, from cafes to the gym, that was also really, really good. And I also love the fact that there were a lot of spaces inside the different schools, including SOM, of course, where you could just sit around and meet different people and have informal chats. So those were the highlights for me while being in New Haven.
Well, winters are brutal. So we should also say that it's cold here in the winter. Okay, so there's a question in the chat that I'm not going to address to anybody in particular. So feel free to answer if you think that you have something to say. I like this question: is how is the MAM community while you are a student? Because if you are all taking different classes, that means you're spread out. You're not really having classes together other than the two core courses that you have. So how do you build up that MAM community if you are all taking different classes? Again, anybody?
I can go ahead and maybe the others can add with their experiences as well. So we had two classes together that were mandatory. Those were the only ones that were mandatory. And that really helped from the beginning, together with the integration week, for us to build community, to get to know each other, to know our interests. And from then, we still kept organizing about one weekly meeting in which most of us were present. So that really helped as well. And I would say that whichever activity you would join that was organized by SOM, rather including the formal and the informal ones, you could always meet a lot of people from the MAM and connect with them. So even if if you think that you're not together all the time, which is the case, in every class, everything that you do at SOM, you will find people from the MAM. So that's not an issue. And it was not for me, but I would like to hear the others as well.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, the two mandatory courses that we did involved a lot of projects. And so although, I mean, the contact time in terms of class was short, outside the class, we still did a lot of things together because of the projects that we had to do. We met almost like twice a week or 3 times a week, and would also meet at Gypsy. I don't know if any of you went to Gypsy, the graduate pub, and then have conversations, about classes and the things that we were doing. So I would say that although we had the opportunity to curate our own courses, we always found a way to get in touch with each other.
I think I'll piggyback on what Victor and Sophia said here, that when the cohort comes together, I think all of you are going through the same experience. You're inquisitive, you're wanting to know more about the university, you're wanting to make friends. And I think the fact that we all share that when we first come in, we tend to gravitate together and want to make the best of the time that we have together. And that's why I feel, to Victor's point, after class as well, not just from a academic point of view, you just want to get to know the other person that you're actually doing your classes with, right? I think there are ample opportunities in an academic setting as well, like the practicum, for example. That's like one semester where all students get together and you're doing a real life project with real organizations, real people behind those organizations. And while the instruction lasts for a finite period of time, for you to deliver a good project, you need to collaborate with your peers. And those teams are like, I don't know if that format's changed, but when I was there were teams of about 8 to 10 people on each of those projects, and everybody takes pride in delivering delivering value to the organization that you're consulting to, as well as to your peers as well, because at the end of the program, you need to present that to your peers as well. And it wasn't just a learning opportunity, but it was from an academic standpoint, but you also got to know your peers at a much deeper level because you're working with them outside of the classroom.
Thank you. Victoria, we have another very good question. So our mission statement is to educate leaders for business and society. So somebody here is asking, in which way did the MAM change or improve your perspective of the impact of business in society?
So I think I've always been really aware of that just because of where I grew up. I'm from Costa Rica, and so the entire way that or at least that I grew up thinking of business is this something that really, there's a million ways in which business intersects with society. In my case, it was very focused on the environment, right? And so there was this really strong understanding, because we're a very green country, that everything that a business do will sort of percolate into the community, into the society. And I think that when I did the MAM, it became more about humans. Like, how does business really fit into society when it comes to community outreach? And I think I mentioned this earlier. I took a class called Non-Market Strategy, which is all about that intersection. How do businesses operate in a non-market area, and what are the impacts that they have in those spaces, and who are the actors even in those spaces that can have an impact on the businesses themselves, right? If you have a community that just thinks you're a bad business, they could completely take your social license to operate, and then you can't open your plant in that area and whatnot. So it just is completely intertwined in most of the classes that you have. And then there's specific classes that address it directly that you can always choose and take. So I think I always sort of had that consciousness, but I think that SOM has classes that can make you see it in like different ways, like whether it's more community focused or more environmentally focused and whatnot. So it's there for you. It's there for the taking, really.
We have a question from someone that is married, the family, children. I don't know if any of you were in this situation when you did the program, if you came with a family, and if not, if yes, it would be great to share your experience. What resources are there for, you know, family and partners? And if none of you, I'm sure you had friends that came with their family. So if you could share, you know, how their experience was like, because, you know, it's a big decision to do the program. It's a much bigger decision if you have a family and you decide to move them to New Haven for a year. So any of you can speak to this?
Maybe I can take a stab at that. Victor, I don't know if you were married, you can go ahead because I wasn't.
No. So I you know, you can go. I was married, but I wasn't there with my family. But I had a colleague who came with his family.
Go ahead. I mean,
so I can describe their experience. So I mean, it was a good experience for them. The wife got to attend some of the classes, and eventually applied to the MAM. She completed about a year ago. So it was a very good experience for them. They had their second child while doing the program. so it was a very good relationship for them. And the thing is that all of us knew his family because he would come for our programs and our social programs. Sometimes our projects he'd come with the wife and the kids. So we knew the family. It was a good family. So the cohort wasn't only about the MEM students, it was about MEM students and their families.
Sorry, Camilo. I just wanted to mention that in our cohort, we had about, I think, a handful of folks that came with their families. And to Victor's point, I think every opportunity the cohort actually got together, you know, it was never restricted to just the cohort in itself, right? I mean, families were always welcome, and we actually made a lot of friends with the people's extended families. And over here, it's interesting. We actually had two of my classmates got married, and he actually proposed to her in the classroom. So that it is you do have stories where you know, people have made it work. I personally wasn't married at the time, but my wife, who I wasn't married to at the time, was in France. And you know, you just if you're with your family, it's great. But if you're not with your family, you just need to make it work and look forward.
I wasn't married either, but somebody was asking earlier, how do you make friends with the MAM, you know, if you go to different classes? And in reality, 99% of your friendships happen outside the class. So to Pratyush's point, that you get to know everybody, like all of the families, because people come along with their wife or with their partner, or, you know, if it's like if it's not at night and over drinks, they might bring their kids. But one of my best friends from the whole program, I think I took literally the 2 first classes with him. And by the end of this month, I think October 20th, I'm going to his wife's baby shower because they're pregnant, right? And so it's someone that I met through classes twice, and I ended up being best friends with his wife. And now I'm, you know, going to their baby shower. So I can tell you that I think families are, again, really involved in all of the outside class interactions. And that's where really friendships happen.
There's a question about workload and difficulty. How difficult did you find the classes at Yale, SOM and outside of SOM? And how many hours average did you have to work every day after class to prepare? Anybody?
I'll probably go first. It's rigorous. Okay. It's really rigorous. Like a lot of work, a lot of assignments, a lot of projects, a lot of thinking, focus. You need a lot of energy to do that, but it's very fulfilling. When you finish it, you'll be really, really happy. Actually took a course in renewable energy project finance. And prior to that, I'd been in banking all my life. So I thought I was comfortable with my financial modeling skills. Then when I took this course, it was another level, Wall Street standard modeling. And during the course, it was so rigorous. I actually had back pains, but after that, I was really happy that I took that course. After every course that you take, you become very confident in yourself.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can go. So I think I second what was said, because I really agree with it. But from a person that didn't have a business background prior to the MBA and the MAM, I think the whole community and the professors are very welcoming to people that have different levels of expertise and knowledge in the specific topic. And the amount of work you have really depends on how comfortable you are with the subjects and the classes you are taking, and how much you want to stretch yourself out of your comfort zone. But it also depends on how many classes you take at the same time. So managing the workload highly depends on that. We have a minimum number of credits that we have to fulfill. I say if you do that minimum number, it's perfectly manageable. If you want to do a lot of classes, because there's a lot of interesting classes to do, that might become a little bit more difficult, but I wouldn't say that the workload related to the classes and the courses is not manageable. I think what's the most difficult to manage is like recruiting together with the extracurricular activities and also the course load. But the course load in itself, I found it always very supportive and welcoming, and I had no issues following any of the classes that I chose.
Thank you. What would you say is the best experience that you had, that you got involved in while doing the program, and why? Ana Victoria.
So mine's really easy, but I feel like there was just a LinkedIn post on this, and I don't know if anybody read it, so I don't want to, drill it home again. But I worked with one of her professors. Her name is Zoe Chance. She teaches influence and persuasion. And I reached out to her, really thinking that she would say no, to ask her if I could work with her in her lab. I wasn't sure back then if I was going to go ahead and do a PhD or what I wanted to do. Long story short, she said yes, and we started working together. I helped her. She's writing a book right now. It's about to be done, so I helped her with her book. And it was such a wonderful experience. I learned so much, not just in what I was doing, like the actual work, but from her as a human, as a leader, and just really have a great friendship with her. And I think that's one of the things that I really treasure from my time at SOM. And just the cherry on top is that I've always been really scared about the whole recruiting process. I just, I'm not used to interviewing. I didn't want to go the traditional, sort of consulting route either. And I wasn't sure where to start. So I basically told Zoe, hey, do you know of any jobs that I might like? Do you know of any companies that I might be interested in? And she was like, sure. Sent me a list. And she was like, I know people in all of these. Let me know if any of these jobs are interesting to you. I'll reach out. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how is this possible? It was the best day of my life. I was like, yes, I like this one, this one, this one. And she reached out to some of those people who then ended up reaching out to me, and I had really nice interviews with them. So she basically helped me put a foot through the door. And just to round that up, that was the most special experience for me overall. But I also think it's a good thing to highlight that you should always consider professors as part of the SOM community, right? It's not just alumni and it's not just your classmates. Professors are incredibly available if you find them at the right times. Like, of course, they're really busy people, but if you ask to make an appointment with them, if you visit them during office hours, their door is so open and they have so much knowledge, and half of the time they're consultants themselves. So chances are, if they don't know about a job, they know someone in that job. So talk to them, get close to them, and, you might find that it ends up being a really nice experience for you too.
Anybody else wants to share something special? Perfect. There's a question saying, how would you describe an MAM student? What are the characteristics that are kind of shared across MAM students? Can you think of? I mean, it's difficult because they all come from so many different backgrounds, MBA experiences, and nationalities. So could you choose something that is common to the MAM students?
I don't know if it is if it is the case, but I did find that the MAM group was a rather mature lot. I mean, they've got wide-ranging experience from a professional as well as personal standpoint. I think a number of the people, folks in my classroom had 10+ years of experience. So they bring a lot of wealth of knowledge along with them. I, of course, myself had around 5 years, but it was a good mix of people. But I'd say that a lot of them had already been through a lot in their professional careers, which they brought to the classroom. And I think that I really valued, and that was a common thread I saw across the cohort, my cohort, and the cohort prior to us. I'm not sure if that's changed, but over time, but yeah, the others can speak to that.
I can go. One of the things that I really liked was that everyone was really busy trying to manage everything from courses to recruiting to perhaps moving to another country after they finished the MAM. But everyone was really supportive and kind. So no matter how busy everyone was, if you really needed help to recruit or to do an assignment from someone that was really expert in that area, that person would always make time for you and would just make sure that you would succeed in your assignment or in your recruitment or in writing everything that you needed for an essay or an application. So that was something that I really liked about the community. They were incredibly supportive and available to help us whenever we needed.
And I would also just add on like curiosity. I think that is like a critical thing that everybody shares. There's, people have so much knowledge and so many different things, and the conversations are just so engaging because everyone is genuinely interested in most things and curious about them and willing to learn more. And it makes for really, really interesting class discussions. And I think that's the quality that I could see pretty much across every one of my classmates.
Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna, break the rules and add something to this. So everybody that comes to the MAM already has an MBA, right? So they really don't need the MAM. They can be very successful just with their MBA from a very prestigious school around the world. So the people that end up applying to the MAM it's not such a big population in terms of compared to the MBAs. It's just people that want to get, deeper knowledge or different knowledge, as everybody is saying here. So that's that curiosity that I think Ana Victoria was speaking about. It's just like, okay, I have my business background, I have my career built, but I really need something else. And that something else is what the MAM gives to you, because that is something that you can choose. So I just want to put that out there. The MAM is a program not for everybody. It's for a niche population of the MBA, but people that are seeking for that something else. Okay, so another question about recruitment for international students. Do you share the same resources as the MBAs, international MBAs, or how did you land your jobs, the jobs that you're in? I mean, we already know how Ana Victoria got hers.
I can take that. Like as I mentioned previously, I hadn't yet graduated from B school yet. So I had done my core in HEC, and I had come. I then moved to New Haven to start the MAM program. So for me, my job search was really a global one. I actually ended up traveling to different countries as well because you know, when you do get, and many of my colleagues here would agree, that is a stressful time, and when you're looking for opportunities, depending on where your spectrum lies in terms of geography, etc. For me, I wasn't fixated on the geography, so I ended up interviewing in the US. I went to China. I went to back to Europe. So it was rather global, and but the way I landed up with the job that I got, that I'm in right now, was actually through a coffee chat that happened on campus, and I met with the recruiter, and at the time there wasn't an opportunity open for me at the organization, but 6 months later, this individual actually reached out to me himself and said, hey, you know, we met at Yale, and I remember the conversation that we had, and we've got this role at Priceline that I think you'd be a good fit for. Are you interested? Right. So I think that's where my experience with Priceline started. I went through several rounds of interviews and then landed the job. But at the end of the day, it was a culmination of interactions that the university facilitated that opened this door for me. And that was my journey thus far. But then again, I think you would lean on your own B Schools alumni network, as well as the Yale network, which is a very strong one. And then, you know, whatever works for you and whatever chips line up for you, I think that's really the path that you take.
Thank you. So we're 8 minutes to the end of the webinar. So I want to make sure that I leave time for each of you to give the best advice to the candidates that might be considering the program right now. So if you were to give them a piece of advice, what would it be? Victor, let's start with you.
Yeah, so my advice would be that the MAM program, it's not an MBA program. It's an enhancement. It's an enhancement of your MBA program. So you'd find that what you learn, it's how to make an impact globally, and you change your perspectives about business. That's what happened to me. So when you decide to apply for the MAM program, you are not only thinking about how to earn a paycheck. You are looking for impact. That is the reason why you'd be applying for the MAM program. So that's my advice, that if you think that you want to make an impact, be thinking about that, and that's what should guide your decision to apply for the MAM program.
Sophia.
In my case, I would say, at least before you apply, just connect with students and alumni. That's what I did prior to applying to the program. I also connected with the school, obviously, but I think current students and alumni, particularly those who are from the same areas as you've been before, or from your background, they will be the ones that can give you advice on how the MAM experience, on how it works day by day, but also can give you precious tips for the applications and for your essays. So that would be my piece of advice. You really want to get to know the program and how it works before. And sometimes it's just easier to connect with someone that has actually been there and experienced the program in New Haven and the whole university for 12 months. So that would be my best piece of advice.
Ana Victoria.
Oops, I was muted. Mine is a little bit, well, I have two pieces of advice. The first one is for those that are in the process of applying, and I think it's a little bit similar to Sophia's. I think take a moment to really think through what it is that you want and what it is in this program that's exciting to you. Like, look up classes that you think are fun, that you would like to try out, and think how that relates to you as a human in your career path and why you really want that. Because I think that way, when you actually get to the interview process or to writing your essays, you can be yourself. you're confident that, you know, this is the right next step for you because you've researched it and you know it is what you want. So I think it comes across just more organically, and you can be confident in the way that you speak because it is part of, it fits in part of who you are. And then the second piece of advice is once you're there, just have fun. And, you know, it's for many of you, it'll probably be the last time that you ever study, right? Like this will be your second, if not, well, either your first MBA or your second MAM degree. And it might be the last chance to really take classes that are completely out of your comfort zone. So go for it. If you're a numbers person, take interpersonal dynamics. If you're an interpersonal dynamics person, take behavioral economics or, you know, investing. Just try different things out. I think it's really worth it. Pays off.
Thank you. Prayush, is there anything left for them
I
to
don't think so. I think all of them covered everything, but I just say that if you're a curious individual and want to learn more, think deeply about the courses that you will take that when you're here, so you can maximize your time while you're here. It's the worst thing to be on campus and then say, hey, you know, there's so much to do, it can be overwhelming, and you will not get what you want from the program. So be thoughtful prior to applying and reach out to as many students, including ourselves, if you have any questions, and you know, take that best foot forward. That's my only advice.
Thank you. I will add my own piece of advice, which is built on pretty much what you just said, Prayush, is make sure that you know what you're doing the program. And that process has to happen before you arrive in New Haven. Like, you know, why do I want this program for? What classes am I going to take? You might then change your mind and a little bit, but like, what is the ultimate goal? Where do I want this program to take me? Both professionally, but also personally, because you're also doing this program for yourself, for, you know, to get knowledge on things that are of interest to you. So put that, you know, thought processing way before you even apply, because you have to make a good case to us. The worst possible answer when I ask you, why do you want to do the MAM, is to tell me that you want to come to Yale because it's a great school with a great reputation. That is not the answer that I'm expecting. I want to know that you have done your due diligence, you have researched the program, and that you make a compelling case on why do you want to do the program. So that would be my piece of advice. Not a student, but again, I'm going to be assessing your application, so I guess that counts a little bit. We have 3 minutes left, and I want to definitely thank all our panelists again. It's such a, you know, nice gesture of you to share your time with us, and also for me, it's great to see you, even if it's through the screen. So thank you so much for being great ambassadors of the program. I want to the attendees to remind them a few things. The first thing is that we have included some changes in the program, in the recruitment process of the program. So the first one is that we now require a GMAT or GRE mandatory. This wasn't the case before. We would accept other entrance exams that schools would have. Now we request the GMAT and the GRE. And the reason being that we want to be consistent with the recruitment process for all our programs. We don't have a minimum or an average, so you don't have to worry about, you know, meeting any threshold, but we will ask you to submit one of those tests. The second thing, and I don't know if there's anybody in attending this webinar that is not from a Global Award school, is that we have opened up the program to non-GNAM schools, and that would be in round 3. So we have 3 rounds of application. The first one is January 6th. The second one is February 22nd. And the third one is April 12th. So April 12th, we will be accepting applications coming from students that have done an MBA. The MBA is still a requirement, but not necessarily at a GNAM school. If you come from a GNAM school, we strongly encourage you to apply round 1 or round 2, because those 2 rounds will be still reserved just to GNAM students. So those are the changes. Submitting application when you're ready, put the work and make it strong. And thank you everybody for our alumni for sharing the experiences and the applicants for considering the program. So I think we're almost on time. We are on time. So thank you, everybody. We're recording the webinar. Our alumni have agreed to share their contacts with anybody that is interested in following the conversation offline. So thank you so much to those of you who agreed to share contacts, and any further questions, just write to us, advancedmanagement@yale.edu, and we will definitely put you in touch with the right people. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.